The state of Illinois set to respond tomorrow to the gun ban litigation in the Southern District of Illinois from 4 different plaintiffs groups after a judge consolidated those cases and said, hey, state of Illinois, you've got to respond to the preliminary injunction and also provide a list of all items banned. This after denying the state's request to delay a response. So tomorrow's the day we're going to get that state response to a motion for preliminary injunction in the federal court, Southern District, against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. So we talked yesterday about how earlier this week the Illinois Sheriff's Association filed an amicus brief, which is a friend of the court brief, siding with the plaintiffs. So the sheriffs have officially gone on record in federal court saying that they will not support this gun and magazine ban, and they lay out the constitutional argument saying that this is unconstitutional, banning common weapons. Well, I connected with Jim Kaitschuk yesterday. He's with the Illinois Sheriff's Association. He is the executive director. He lays out what they did.
I mean, what we did is, as you all know, many sheriffs across the state indicated their concern about this legislation passing and ultimately be signed into law and infringing upon the rights of those legal gun owners across the state. So what the organization did is we filed an amicus brief in support of those efforts challenging House Bill 5471.
Now, if you go and find the story I produced for this particular issue, you can read the 10 or 11 page filing that the sheriffs put in there. And really, I mean, they spell it out in some detail as to how they feel this measure is a violation of the U.S. Supreme Court and the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which is the right to keep and bear arms. But there's one element in here that I want to highlight, and that is where they really kind of spell out their argument as to why they oppose this. And Jim Kaitschuk highlighting this a bit. In the filing, it says that the Illinois Sheriff's Association supports efforts to make Illinois and all of its citizens safe, but it also recognizes that those efforts must be within the bounds set by the Constitution. HB 5471 crosses those bounds, and in doing so, demands that sheriffs enforce a law that deprives the law-abiding citizens that they serve of their constitutional right to keep and bear arms for lawful purposes, including sport and self-defense. Because law enforcement should never be compelled to violate the constitutional rights of Illinois citizens, the Illinois Sheriff's Association supports plaintiffs' action to enjoin the implementation of HB 5471 and to have the statutes declared unconstitutional. So some of the other arguments that we've heard are, of course, the constitutional arguments, but also if a sheriff is to enforce what the court finds is an unconstitutional law, they could be held financially liable. And not them, the taxpayers in that county could be held financially liable. That wasn't necessarily the main concern that the sheriffs had when they filed with the federal courts here, but Jim Kaitschuk with the Sheriff's Association delves a bit more into this.
I don't know that I know really the answer to that. I mean, I suppose if the sheriffs are just like any other law, if they are enforcing things that, have been legally passed the General Assembly and signed into law by the governor, I suppose that in and of itself would provide them some level of protection. But, as stated before, the sheriffs, many of the sheriffs across the state, as you know, indicated concerns about the nature in which, this bill, where it went to, including, developing a registration program and limiting the type of weapons that people could have in common use. So those were some of the concerns that they had. Even though there was an exemption provided for law enforcement, many of the sheriffs felt like, how was a sheriff different than a general citizen? And that was, some of their concern.
Now, again, the Sheriff's Association filing that siding with the plaintiffs' groups in this case. 4 consolidated cases in the Southern District of Illinois, federal courts. You've got the sheriffs opposing the gun ban officially in the court, and then you have the state that's set to respond to the 4 plaintiffs' groups' motion for a preliminary injunction. That comes tomorrow. Then they're supposed to respond to the Second Amendment violations on the 16th of March, and then they will hear this in open court in the federal courtroom down in East St. Louis on April 12th, I believe. So this is all coming together, and we'll see these arguments play out out and especially review the arguments that are filed tomorrow by the states in this. But that's the federal courts. In state court, you've got a totally different set of circumstances there, including Attorney Thomas DeVore. He consolidated his 3 cases, and you've got a separate Macon County case that has a hearing set for Friday, I believe. I'm just checking the dates here. Yes, so Friday the 3rd in Macon County, they're going to have a status hearing on that case. But the 3 cases that Tom DeVore has consolidated, where they all have temporary restraining orders in place for the thousands of plaintiffs that have signed on, DeVore is going to amend that and open it up for possibly more plaintiffs to sign on as that case advances. But what he's done is he's put in a motion for subpoenas of the governor, of the legislative leaders, of the lawmakers that supported this, but also apparently of various groups, including law enforcement associations like the Illinois Sheriff's Association. Well, the Illinois Sheriff's Association, they put a motion in to quash DeVore's subpoena in the state level case. Even while the sheriffs, they opposed the gun ban, the magazine ban, and the gun registry, they don't feel they have any part in a discovery process that DeVore is looking into. So I asked Jim Kaitschuk about the quash movement to try to block a subpoena.
Yeah, I mean, just one day, a couple of weeks ago, I received a certified letter from his firm indicating that I had been subpoenaed for, just like a number of the members of the General Assembly had been subpoenaed, that would request, emails, text messages that went to members of the General Assembly regarding House Bill 5471, also to the governor's office and his staff on that same issue. And then number 3 was any other email or text message that I may have sent relating to this issue. So, we're not a party to that case. Didn't get a heads up that was coming. Not exactly sure, why they were seeking, to reach out to the Sheriff's Association specifically to see what I'm not sure what they were searching for. I know our attorney did reach out to them and let them know that we were filing a motion to quash because there really isn't anything to show here. I mean, obviously on this issue, the organization had taken a position of opposition to this issue right out of the gates. So I don't know what they were searching for, but that's why we filed the motion, because that information really we should have the ability to interact back and forth with members of the General Assembly on issues that are pending before the General Assembly. And also, we certainly believe we have the right to be able to reach out to our members of the organization to find out opinions and positions and recommendations that they have in a deliberative process.
So they're looking to quash that subpoena with the Illinois Sheriff's Association in the state level challenges. But while DeVore gets all of his stuff together for the state level challenges in his 3 cases that are consolidated, the standalone Macon County case has a hearing in state court over in Decatur this Friday. So a lot of things going to be popping all throughout the week for the rest of the week when it comes to the litigation against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. And we'll do what we can to bring you the very latest as it develops here. I'm Greg Bishop. It is Springfield's Morning News. Follow along. You can find me anywhere on social media. Just search Bishop on Air, and we can connect that way. Appreciate everybody who chimes in, tunes in, shares, likes, subscribes, all that jazz. All right, we got plenty more to get to. I'm, again, loaded up with all kinds of stuff, so stay with